It's unbelievable when you think about the criticism Donald Trump's received for what went on in the Oval Office. It takes two people to end up with a bust up, and Zelensky, his part in it was mainly before the cameras were rolling. He got emboldened from the meeting with the aggressive senators from both sides of the House, as I explained yesterday. These are warmongering senators, and unfortunately a lot of people that Donald Trump has gotten rid of have made a lot of money out of what's gone on with Ukraine. An obscene amount of money. Even Zelensky himself has admitted that half of the money that he's received, we're talking billions, he can't account for it. He doesn't know where it's gone. That shouldn't happen. Every penny should be accounted for, because the money that's been sent has generally gone on weapons. Weapons are used to kill people, and over 1 million Ukrainians have died during this conflict, and that was very early on. And that's in the years before Russia went into Donbass. That was not the beginning of the conflict. The conflict has been bubbling up as a civil situation, a bit like us with Northern Ireland, for decades. A good video to watch is Jeffrey Sachs. I've put it up. You'll see it. It's the one below this one if you look at it on the video list. He's at the United Nations. It's a clip of a much longer address. It's just 4 minutes, but it's basically the early chronology from 1991, how Clinton in 94 began this mission creep moving eastwards, and continued since then really. We've never stopped moving eastwards with NATO. Bases were put in Hungary, Poland and the Czech Republic. I have to write them all down because there's that many. That was with Bill Clinton. And then they moved on further to former United Soviet Russia, to their territories like Latvia and Lithuania. It just went on and on. They've never stopped. And if you look at how they were doing it, if you look at the maps that pop up on the screen in Jeffrey's video, you'll see that what they were doing, they were landlocking Russia. They wanted, all Russia ever wanted was a 25-year lease to a seaport. That's what was being negotiated, and it was going to happen. They'd agreed it until the Neocons in America disrupted the democratically elected president and wanted their own man installed. If you listen to the video, they'll play you a telephone conversation from the Neocons having the right to put NATO bases where they want. I won't use the language because it's YouTube, they're a bit sensitive. And unfortunately, Victoria Nuland, this is an aggressive woman who wanted her own way, and they wanted more NATO bases. They want to push Russia. They want it because it means war. And it's an ideal situation for these Americans who make money from war. Donald Trump doesn't want to make money from war, he wants to make money from trade. That's much healthier. But these neocons, they don't care. They were really pleased with what's going on in Russia. They've even said it, not Russia, but Ukraine with Russia. They've even said it because it's not any bloodshed for Americans. It's other people's blood being spilled. They're not bothered. These are ruthless people, and that's why Donald Trump's got rid of so many of them. Because we've been run by the most appalling individuals that do not have our best interests at heart. The clowns we've now got in Great Britain, have you seen what's gone on today? The grandstanding and the king getting involved, and Zelensky still in this ridiculous outfit. I will change into Saudi when my country is free. What does he think he's doing? He's not making any point there. He's had celebrities over to see him. It's madness. And Donald Trump just cuts to the chase and said, we need a ceasefire. A ceasefire means the bullets stop. And what's happened today? Well, what's happened today is we've found out we've given another 2.6 billion to Ukraine, and then they've all sat down, these waste of time leaders like Ursula von der Leyen and Macron and the rest of them, and we've decided to dole out another 2.6 billion, and guess what? Oh, we're going to talk about a ceasefire. We've got to have a road to peace. The trouble is, they didn't really want a road to peace. They wanted a road to perpetuation, because perpetuation means more money out of the tax system, over to Ukraine. God knows what happens to it. Huge amounts go into the military-industrial complex, where all the weapons are made back in the West. People have shares in Boeing and Lockheed and all the other weapons manufacturers that are lesser known. And This is just a money-making exercise. It's you can be forgiven for thinking it's money laundering because it's just what it looks like. The saddest thing of all, of course, is right back at the beginning, Russia wanted to negotiate a lease for a seaport. That's what this was about, and it was on the cards to be done. But they got involved and scuppered it. It wasn't after any territory. That's come after the fact when he wasn't going to get the seaport. That's why he took Crimea. And unfortunately, it was the Ukrainians that started shelling in Donbass. Their own people. This is a Russian-speaking area. It's very similar to what's happened in Northern Ireland. And it's like the Southern Ireland attacking Northern Ireland. And, Britain steps in to protect Northern Ireland. Unfortunately, this was a civil situation, a civil war, as it were. But there's a lot of money to be made. A lot of money to be made out of this war. So they're reluctant to stop the killing. And it should have been Zelensky who came up with the idea, I must have a ceasefire. Wouldn't you want that if you thought anything about your people? Donald Trump told us that 2,000 people were killed last week. 2,000 in 1 week. So let's pretend that yesterday took place and that a ceasefire was arranged. Boom, it stopped. On a given day it stopped. That's 280 odd lives saved in that instance. So if that went on a week, if talks went on a week, there's another 2,000 people's lives saved. Lives saved. And Donald Trump's the only one talking about it. The only one that's actually mentioned it. Go back through all the dialogue, go back through all the news clippings, go back through all the sound bites. Nobody's asked for peace. Not Macron, not Starmer, certainly not Biden. Nobody's asked for peace. It's absolutely sickening what's going on. But the thing is, we haven't to get wrapped up in the drama of the situation. And, I jokingly said to my husband, no, I can't wait now. Wait till Richard Tice comes out. He'll have to say something about this. Nigel's been very measured, which his comments were just, like I've told you before with Nigel, he'll look at what's going on and tell you what he thinks is going to happen, not necessarily what he wants. Richard Tice is out there, isn't he? I mean, it's like that annoying cousin, isn't it, that you get? It's 2 steps forward and 1 step back with Tice, so I just ignore him because I'd still prefer him as an MP to somebody from the other parties. Kemi Badenoch, whatever she's called. She's lost in headlights, isn't she? She just likes the sound of her own voice. It's a good voice, to be fair. It's very meaningful because it's very deep and it sounds as though she's going to come out with something that we can really latch onto, but it's just all hot air, isn't it? I feel like letting a balloon down. You know when you make that noise when you're letting a balloon down when she's on, because it's just nothing. It's like word salad. And these people are sitting around making themselves important, making sound bites in Westminster, and unfortunately it's all amounting to nothing. It's amounting to us being stiffed for yet more tax, for longer and longer. Generations to come. This isn't just us here. This is generations to come that'll be stiffed for this bill. And what gets me is Trump's been open and honest about, mining for valuable minerals, which happen to be in the Donbass area, by the way. But he has been pretty straightforward about it. That was going to happen anyway. What do you think the meeting was about when Larry Fink from BlackRock came to number 10, along with Bill Gates, who happens to be buying up farmland, and looks what's happened to our farmers, inheritance tax on something that's not normally had it. That will encourage people to sell up now to avoid the tax. It will avoid, there's thousands of people will be affected by this, small businesses too. You'll own nothing and be happy. Does that run through your mind? It runs through my mind. And Larry Fink there, BlackRock is already in Ukraine with basic contracts of rebuilding it, where they're going to put McDonald's, where they're going to put a Nike warehouse. It's already on the cards. That's happening. That was under Biden. That's got nothing to do with Trump. And these people, remember that we have a Prime Minister that said he preferred to do business with the WEF. Why? Because you can get things done. He said it to Emily Maitlis in an interview. Because you can get things done, because in Westminster you can't. Yeah, because Westminster's where we are, the voters. You're supposed to run it past us when you're doing big stuff that wasn't in your manifesto. But they don't. They just get on with it. They railroad over us. And that's why, even though Tice has come out with another load of twaddle about Ukraine, Ignore Tices and also ran. What you need is the winning horse, and that's Reform itself, with Nigel Farage as the jockey. And it's not going to be perfect, whatever they come up with, but it's going to be better than what we've got. And as you know, Nigel Farage sees Trump as an ally. It did kick off a bit, and it wasn't pleasant, but I'm not bothered. And half the people on my thread aren't bothered. I noticed yesterday, I was talking to Lilani Dowding actually. We're pretty close, and she was down yesterday. She never gets down. She's always up and bubbly. She's like me. And we're living a pretty good life, so it's easy to say, and I understand that. But even she was down yesterday, and do you know what got her down? All these bloody idiots on Facebook coming out with the I stand with Ukraine flag again. It was just like going back through lockdown, wasn't it? The division and the Ukraine stuff before when it kicked off. And what kills me, I stand with Ukraine. Do you know what really gets to me about that? I'm sat here with my central heating on and a lump of beef in my oven. My potatoes peeled and my dog sat next to me. I'm nice and comfortable. That scenario will be repeated around the country today. People in their comfortable homes, not affected directly by war. Nobody bleeding out on a freezing cold battlefield. It is winter, you know. And I stand with Ukraine. Just what are you doing? You're putting a flag up on your profile picture when basically that flag is telling everyone that you stand with Zelensky, who hasn't asked for peace. You're standing for war and carnage. That flag is a symbol to me that you're quite happy for these poor sods in Ukraine, Russians as well, to get killed in a conflict that could be over sooner than later. It could have been over months ago if somebody had a will to stop it. But that little man would sooner go around various world leaders and take money from them. And my question is, how did he get so rich? How did he make so much personal wealth? Because since he's been in charge, his country's been at war. And we only have to look back to Churchill and our own world war that we were involved in. We didn't get rich as a country during war. And Germany certainly didn't. How come he's got personal wealth? Well, how the hell does that happen? There's so many unanswered questions that we should be addressing, that these comedians in Westminster are just going over their head. Nobody cares. Kemi Badenoch isn't taking him to task about spending billions in Ukraine. She's standing with the Prime Minister. And this is what I mean about the Uni Party. Tice, you just have to put up with him, I'm afraid. He does quite well, actually, locally in his constituency. They're quite pleased with him. So we'll allow him that. And he's good on things like the race to zero and other stuff. He's quite good on immigration. So I'll just let that roll. I could have got on his thread a number of times, but I didn't. But it's the people with the flags. That just does my head in. So yesterday I'd had enough, because some of the people I've let on my friends list on Facebook, which is like not a follower but a friend. So, and they've usually come on if I haven't known them in personal life. I've let them on because they've asked me for something. They've asked me for help with a situation, and I've probably pitched in, and thus the relationship's built up, and there they are. And then I looked yesterday, I stand with Ukraine. Do you know what really naffed me off? I sit here, see this, this is me making notes. This is me making notes about what's going on. I do it day after day because I can't remember it all. I'm 67. And I watch stuff, and then I run it by other people that know more than me. Sorry to bother, what about this, what about that? And then I come to a conclusion that people aren't getting some information that they should have before they make a decision. So I gather it together and then I put it out. And I've behaved exactly the same for 9 years now, unpaid. It's my choice, but no one's had to pay. No one pays me to go on a podcast or anything like that. And so when I see that Ukraine flag after I've helped people, and I've put a lot of information out yesterday on Facebook, and Twitter's different, but Facebook, I put a lot of information out yesterday about what's going on, including Jeffrey Sachs' video, including explaining it, including writing quite a lot of copy, explaining it in layman's terms so they understand. So then when I see these people go and bang a Ukraine flag up, I kind of lost it a bit. So I unfriended them, and I didn't tell them, I just knocked them off, about 15 people. And I thought, sod off. If after all this time and effort on various topics, from Brexit to lockdowns to mandated drugs and all the rest of it that I've researched, if you can't sit down and think to yourself, well, actually, that woman tries and she's been pretty good, and listen to what I've said and just make your mind up that you stand with Ukraine because you've listened to that twit on telly. The very Prime Minister that you're complaining about, that you're saying, we've lost our country. You say that and then back him up. So that's it, they're toast. I'm not interested. I've got some messages from June, I think. Why have you unfriended me? I'm not interested in why have you unfriended me. It's so irrelevant. Because you're flying a flag saying, I'll stand with Ukraine from the comfort of your own sofa, which basically is standing with Zelensky, who didn't ask for peace. He didn't ask for the bullets to stop. Now he's been told by other nations that they want a ceasefire. I mean, it's just ludicrous. President Trump just cut to the chase. All right, it got a bit heated. No wonder, because he's trying to convince someone to stop it. He's trying to convince someone to pick up the phone and ask for a ceasefire. And you show humility when you're a leader. You don't show ego and pride. I can't do this to my people. Yes, you can. Your people are getting killed. But there's no humility in that little man. None at all. I think he's a dreadful leader, and he won't change my mind. And no amount of flag waving and clapping is ever going to change my mind on the way that man's behaved himself. And so I have to be around people that understand me, I'm afraid. And I do understand. This isn't about Ukrainian people. I feel sorry for them because not only that, if you look at some of the stuff I put out yesterday, there's actually a racket going on where the money filters back to the Ukrainian government for people to actually leave the country, charging them $15,000 to $50,000 depending on their own wealth to be able to leave the country. Leaving the country has become a sideline racket. They've made billions from it. It's disgusting what's been going on. It's actually vile. It's a strange war because it's only in one section of Ukraine, which is right over to the east, where they speak Russian. Zelensky speaks Russian. He's had to learn Ukrainian since he came into office. Do you know that? The opposition have been stifled, jailed, some disappeared. This is not a nice country. The people are fine, but the way the country's run, it's like these other countries, like Mexico, they're not run right. You can get kidnapped in Mexico repeatedly. One bloke's been kidnapped 4 times. And not for big amounts of money. They do it for like $20,000 and then chuck them out of a car on a motorway when they get paid and do it again. These countries aren't proper countries. We're sort of first world countries here that, well, up until recently, we worked pretty well. But as you can see with what they're letting in, there's all sorts of things going on. Anyway, I'm wittering now. I can smell my beef cooking and all my dog's just come and sat next to me. But no, I haven't got any time for you standing with Ukraine with your flags because you're not going to come to any inconvenience, you're not doing any good. And if you feel that strongly, get yourself a flight booked, get your bloody boots on and get over there because the Ukrainian army will have you. They're press ganging people off the street. So there's no worries. You'll fit in. Even if you're in your 60s, they'll have you.